November 1942, Operation Torch, North Africa. The first American M1 bazookas arrived in combat with no trained operators. General Dwight Eisenhower discovered on the night before the landings that none of his troops had received instruction on the new rocket launcher. Within days of deployment, German forces captured several intact specimens from inexperienced American units who had abandoned equipment during early encounters. These captured weapons would trigger the most remarkable reverse engineering project of World War II. The captured bazookas represented something unprecedented in German military doctrine. Here was a lightweight, shoulder-fired weapon that could destroy tanks at ranges beyond hand-thrown charges, yet required only 1 or 2 soldiers to operate. Wehrmacht technical intelligence immediately recognized the implications. Every American infantry unit could now engage armor independently, without waiting for specialized anti-tank guns or vehicles. The journey from battlefield capture to mass production would unfold with extraordinary speed. German forces shipped the captured bazookas to Germany for immediate analysis. The weapons arrived at Kummersdorf, proving grounds south of Berlin, where Wehrmacht weapons experts would conduct the first systematic examination of American rocket launcher technology. What they discovered would fundamentally alter German infantry tactics for the remainder of the war. The technical examination revealed both promise and problems. The American M1 bazooka fired a 60mm rocket using battery-powered electrical ignition. The shaped charge warhead could penetrate approximately 75 to 100 millimeters of armor under ideal conditions. The weapon weighed approximately 7 kilograms and could be operated by a single soldier. But German engineers immediately identified critical weaknesses that would need addressing. The battery-powered ignition system posed the most serious concern. German experience on the Eastern Front had proven that batteries failed catastrophically in extreme cold. The wooden shoulder stock of the American bazooka contained compartments for 4 D-cell batteries, 2 active and 2 spare, but moisture and freezing temperatures rendered them unreliable. Any German version would require a more robust ignition system. German engineers also recognized that the 60mm warhead was insufficient against Soviet T-34 tanks, which featured sloped armor that could defeat smaller-shaped charges. The Wehrmacht already possessed 88mm shaped charge warheads for the Raketenwerfer 43 Pupchen, a wheeled anti-tank rocket launcher that cost 5,730 Reichsmarks to produce. Adapting this existing ammunition to a shoulder-fired tube would provide superior penetration while utilizing established production lines. March 1943 marked a critical demonstration at Kummersdorf. German weapons officials observed captured American bazookas being test-fired alongside experimental German anti-tank weapons, including the Faustpatrone. This demonstration convinced the Heereswaffenamt that developing a German version was essential. The captured weapons proved the concept was sound. German engineering would make it lethal. The development proceeded with remarkable efficiency. Engineers replaced the battery ignition with a magneto system activated by a spring-loaded rod that struck a generator to create electrical current. This eliminated the cold weather vulnerability while maintaining reliable ignition. The tube diameter increased to 88 millimeters to accommodate existing Pupchen ammunition, providing nearly 50% greater warhead weight than the American original. One significant design compromise emerged. The German rocket motor continued burning for approximately 2 meters after leaving the launch tube, unlike the American rocket, which burned out inside the tube. This increased range and velocity but created a massive backblast that endangered the operator. Early operators discovered the exhaust could cause severe burns and temporary blindness, earning the weapon its nickname Ofenrohr, meaning stovepipe. By July 1, 1943, German documents officially listed the new weapon as the 8.8 cm Panzerbüchse. The designation would soon change to Raketen Panzerbüchse 43, commonly shortened to RPZB 43. Production preparations were already underway at multiple facilities across Germany, though mass manufacturing would not begin until September. The production infrastructure mobilized with typical German efficiency. 6 primary manufacturers received contracts for the new weapon. Enzinger Union in Federsheim, Hassag in Mosselwitz, Gebrüder Scheffler in Berlin, Jeckel in Freistadt, Kronprinz in Solingen, and Schricker in Fürthwach. Each facility would produce components or complete weapons, with final assembly occurring at multiple locations to prevent Allied bombing from disrupting the entire program. September 8, 1943, a German military report stated the weapon would be sent to frontline troops for trials very soon. By September 30th, the official manual for the Raketen Panzerbuchse had been published. October 5th saw the first delivery of 1,500 weapons and 5,000 rockets to combat units. The transformation from captured American weapon to German mass production had taken less than 11 months. The production numbers reveal the scale of German commitment to the weapon. Initial orders called for 382,000 units, though material shortages and bombing would reduce this to 289,151 RPZ-B-54 models by July 1944 when production ceased. An additional 25,744 improved RPZ-B-54/1 models were produced between December 1944 and the war's end. Manufacturing the Panzerschreck required just 10 work hours per weapon at a cost of 70 Reichsmarks, compared to 5,730 Reichsmarks for the smallest traditional anti-tank gun. This economic efficiency made mass production feasible even as Germany's war economy contracted. A single Panzerschreck cost less than a military rifle, but could destroy a 40-ton tank. The human cost of production remains one of the darkest chapters in the weapon's history. HSAG, the third largest exploiter of forced labor in Nazi-controlled Europe, operated multiple production facilities using slave laborers from concentration camps. By October 1943, over 60,000 workers labored for HSAG, more than half of them forced laborers and prisoners of war. The company operated 16,581 prisoners in labor, subcamps by 1945. At HSAG facilities in Poland, approximately 35,000 deaths occurred across various camps, though incomplete records prevent precise accounting. Workers endured 12-hour shifts with exposure to toxic chemicals, brutal beatings, starvation rations, and no sanitation. The Schliebenberger camp, producing munitions including Panzerschreck components, housed between 2,000 and 5,000 female prisoners with an average life expectancy of 2 months. An explosion there on October 12, 1944, killed 96 prisoner laborers. The weapons combat deployment began in autumn 1943, initially in small numbers as production ramped up. By January 1944, 21,141 had been issued to combat units, though another 39,526 remained in armories due to Wehrmacht distribution problems. German infantry units on all fronts demanded the new weapon, recognizing its effectiveness against Allied armor. Eastern Front forces received priority for Panzerschreck distribution. Soviet tank commanders quickly noticed the changing tactical situation. Where German infantry had previously relied on magnetic mines, anti-tank rifles, and bundled grenades, they now possessed weapons that could engage tanks at 150 to 200 meters. Every German strongpoint potentially concealed multiple rocket launcher teams. The weapon proved particularly effective in defensive positions. German tactical doctrine called for Panzerschreck teams to establish interlocking fields of fire from concealed positions. Teams would dig staggered trenches no more than 115 meters apart, ensuring attacking armor-faced rockets from multiple directions. The effective range against moving targets was approximately 100 meters, though static targets could be engaged at greater distances. Technical performance data from German and Finnish tests demonstrated the weapon's capabilities. The RPZ-B-4322 rocket achieved penetration of 160 mm of armor at 60-degree impact angle, or up to 230 mm at optimal 90-degree angle. The rocket velocity reached 110 meters per second, compared to the American Bazookas' 85 meters per second. The warhead contained 700 grams of explosive, triple the American weapon's charge. The Blast Shield edition in February 1944 created the RPZ-B-54 model, which became the standard production variant. This shield protected operators from the rocket's backblast, though it increased weight from 9.25 kilograms to 11 kilograms. Operators still required protective equipment, including gloves and face protection, as the backblast danger zone extended 10 to 30 meters behind the weapon. Western Front deployment accelerated before D-Day. German forces in Normandy received thousands of Panzerschrecks positioned to engage Allied landing craft and tanks at the waterline. The weapons proved effective in the Bocage country, where short engagement ranges and abundant concealment suited Panzerschreck tactics. American tank crews, recognizing their own invention turned against them, developed countermeasures, including additional armor and infantry screens. The psychological impact often exceeded the physical damage. Allied tank crews knew that every hedgerow, building, or pile of rubble might conceal a Panzerschreck team. The weapon's distinctive launch signature, a bright flash followed by a smoke trail, became a dreaded sight. Tank commanders reported that crew effectiveness decreased significantly in areas known to have high concentrations of Panzerschrecks. International proliferation began even before the war ended. Finland purchased 1,854 launchers and 18,650 rockets for 200,000 Reichsmarks. Finnish forces achieved remarkable success against Soviet armor, with tests confirming penetration of 100 millimeters of face-hardened armor at 30 degrees. Hungarian forces received Panzerschrecks for Operation Spring Awakening in March 1945, the war's last major German offensive. Allied intelligence closely monitored the Panzerschreck phenomenon. A British report from January 1945 noted that German production of nearly 300,000 units in 18 months exceeded total Allied bazooka production. American ordnance experts recognized that the Germans had identified and corrected every weakness in the original bazooka design, creating a superior weapon from captured examples. The Americans themselves adopted German improvements for later bazooka models. The M9 bazooka, introduced in October 1943, incorporated magneto ignition similar to the Panzerschreck, eliminating the battery problems that plagued earlier versions. The M20 Super Bazooka, developed late in the war, increased caliber to 3.5 inches, following the German example of using larger warheads for better penetration. Production statistics reveal the weapon's importance to German strategy. By July 1944, when production of the RPZ-54 ceased, 289,151 units had been manufactured. Monthly production peaked at 15,000 units in early 1944. Each weapon required components from 32 subcontractors, demonstrating the industrial complexity behind mass production. The improved RPZ-54/1 model addressed remaining deficiencies. Introduced in December 1944, it featured a shortened tube length of 135 centimeters, improved rocket propellant that reduced backblast, and refined sights. Despite orders for 48,000 units, only 25,744 were delivered before Germany's surrender. Engineers also developed prototypes using impregnated cardboard tubes to save steel, though none reached production. Cost-effectiveness analysis demonstrates why Germany prioritized Panzerschreck production. Each weapon cost 70 Reichsmarks and required 10 work hours to manufacture. The smallest traditional anti-tank gun, the 3.7 cm Puck 35-36, cost 5,730 Reichsmarks and was ineffective against modern tanks. A single Tiger tank cost 300,000 Reichsmarks. For the price of one Tiger, Germany could produce over 4,000 Panzerschrecks. Ammunition production matched weapon manufacturing. Over 2 million rockets were produced, primarily the RPZ-B GER 4322 model with its distinctive shape and fin stabilization. Each rocket weighed 3.3 kilograms and came packaged in wooden crates of 2. Special, winter and summer variants accommodated temperature extremes that affected propellant performance. Transport frames allowed soldiers to carry 5 rockets, though the weight and bulk limited mobility. The weapon's influence extended beyond World War II. Belgian company Mikar, which had produced Panzerschrecks under license, developed the blindicide RL-83 in the 1950s using similar principles. The Swiss Army adopted derivatives as the 8.3 cm rocket-propelled grenade, maintaining upgraded versions in service through 1980. The basic concept of an oversized, shaped charge in a shoulder-fired tube influenced anti-tank weapon development worldwide. Post-war analysis by American ordnance experts acknowledged German achievements. Colonel C.T. Richards wrote in 1946 that the Panzerschreck program represented history's most successful reverse engineering project, achieving mass production in under 7 months from initial capture. The Germans had taken a hastily developed American weapon and transformed it into a mature system that exceeded the original in every performance metric. Soviet forces captured thousands of Panzerschrecks during their advance into Germany. Red Army evaluation noted the weapon's superiority to captured American bazookas received through Lend-Lease. The Soviets had initially rejected American bazookas as insufficiently powerful, receiving only 3,000 units with minimal ammunition. The German version, with its larger warhead and greater penetration, better suited Soviet tactical requirements. The last documented combat use of wartime Panzerschrecks occurred during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, when Syrian forces employed captured German weapons. The weapons had travelled from German factories through various conflicts, demonstrating the durability of the basic design. Some examples remained in Third World arsenals into the 1960s, long after more advanced anti-tank weapons became available. Technical documentation survived in remarkable detail. The Wehrmacht's September 30th, 1943 manual provided comprehensive instructions for operation, maintenance, and tactics. American intelligence translated captured manuals with an October 7, 1944 report detailing German firing procedures, aiming techniques, and safety requirements. These documents reveal the thoroughness of German training programs despite wartime pressures. Safety statistics highlight the weapon's dangers. German records indicate numerous operator casualties from backblast injuries, premature detonations, and enemy return fire attracted by the weapon's prominent launch signature. The 10 to 30 meter backblast zone behind the weapon required careful positioning to avoid injuring friendly troops. Urban combat proved particularly hazardous, as backblast could reflect off walls, injuring operators. Comparative analysis with contemporary weapons reveals the Panzerschreck's position in anti-tank weapon evolution. The British Piat, using a spring-launched spigot mortar principle, had greater range but less penetration. The American bazooka offered better portability but inferior armor penetration. The German Panzerfaust provided simpler operation and lower cost, but was single-use only. The Panzerschreck balanced these factors, offering reusable capability with substantial hitting power. Manufacturing quality varied significantly as the war progressed. Early production weapons from 1943 featured excellent workmanship with precision machined components. By late 1944, simplified production techniques and inferior materials reduced quality, though functionality remained adequate. Captured examples show progressive degradation in finish and tolerances as Germany's industrial situation deteriorated. The weapon system's complete infrastructure included training facilities, ammunition depots, repair workshops, and distribution networks. Germany established Panzerschreck training schools at multiple locations, graduating thousands of operators monthly. Specialized repair units maintained weapons at division level. The logistical commitment matched that of traditional artillery systems, demonstrating the weapon's perceived value. Environmental limitations affected combat employment. The weapon proved less effective in extreme cold, where propellant burned inconsistently. Desert conditions caused problems with sand contamination. Rain and moisture could cause electrical shorts in the ignition system. Despite these limitations, the basic design proved remarkably robust, functioning adequately across diverse combat environments from Arctic Finland to Mediterranean Italy. Allied countermeasures evolved throughout the war. Tank crews welded additional armor plates, hung sandbags, and installed wire mesh screens to defeat shaped charges. Infantry adopted aggressive screening tactics, advancing ahead of tanks to suppress Panzerschreck teams. Artillery and mortars targeted suspected firing positions. Despite these measures, the Panzerschreck remained a serious threat through the war's end. German tactical innovation maximized the weapon's effectiveness. Panzerschreck teams learned to target specific vehicle vulnerabilities, including vision blocks, engine compartments, and track assemblies. Multiple teams coordinated attacks to overwhelm tank defenses. Urban combat tactics evolved to exploit the weapon's capabilities while minimizing exposure to return fire. These tactics influenced post-war anti-tank doctrine worldwide. Production quality control data survives from several facilities. Random testing of production weapons showed approximately 95% met specifications in 1943, declining to roughly 80% by late 1944. The primary failures involved ignition systems and tube integrity. Despite quality issues, the sheer production volume ensured adequate supplies reached combat units. The economic impact extended beyond direct production costs. Germany diverted significant industrial capacity to Panzerschreck manufacturing, including steel, electrical components, and chemical production for propellants and explosives. The program consumed resources that might have produced other weapons. However, the cost-effectiveness compared to traditional anti-tank guns justified this allocation from the German perspective. Training programs evolved based on combat experience. Initial training emphasized accuracy and safety. Combat veterans later provided practical instruction on tactics, camouflage, and survival. The Wehrmacht published numerous training pamphlets and tactical guides specifically for Panzerschreck operators. These materials, captured and translated by Allied intelligence, provide insights into German anti-tank doctrine evolution. Supply chain complexity increased as production expanded. The weapon required specialized components from multiple suppliers, including electrical contacts, optical sights, steel tubing, and wooden components. Rocket production demanded separate facilities for warhead manufacture, propellant mixing, and final assembly. Disruption at any point could halt production, making the system vulnerable to strategic bombing. The Panzerschreck program ultimately demonstrates rapid military adaptation under extreme pressure. From initial capture of American bazookas in November 1942 to mass production by September 1943, Germany transformed a foreign concept into indigenous capability. The program succeeded through pragmatic engineering that adapted existing resources rather than developing entirely new technology. Germany's ability to produce nearly 300,000 Panzerschrecks while fighting a multi-front war reveals remarkable industrial resilience. The weapon emerged from systematic reverse engineering that identified and corrected original design weaknesses. German engineers didn't simply copy the bazooka. They created a substantially improved weapon system that exceeded the original in every measurable performance criterion. The historical significance extends beyond technical achievement. The Panzerschreck represents successful technology transfer under combat conditions, rapid industrial mobilization despite resource constraints, and effective military adaptation to enemy innovations. The program proved that captured enemy technology could be quickly transformed into mass-produced weapons that influenced battlefield outcomes. Modern military historians study the Panzerschreck as a case study in successful reverse engineering, rapid product development under wartime conditions, and industrial mobilization. The timeline from capture to mass production remains impressive even by modern standards. Few weapons programs have achieved similar speed from concept to deployment, particularly when starting from captured enemy equipment. The complete story encompasses technical innovation, industrial achievement, and human tragedy. While German engineering deserves recognition for rapid development and successful mass production, the extensive use of slave labor cannot be ignored. Tens of thousands died producing weapons that extended a lost war. The Panzerschreck's history includes both remarkable technical achievement and systematic exploitation of forced laborers. In conclusion, The Panzerschreck stands as history's most successful reverse engineering program, transforming captured American bazookas into nearly 300,000 improved German weapons in under 1 year. The program demonstrated that military innovation could be borrowed, improved, and mass-produced faster than previously imagined. From the first captures during Operation Torch to the final weapons produced in April 1945, the Panzerschreck represented German industrial capability and engineering pragmatism applied to desperate military necessity.